I'm not a paedophile, but I do like kids, and people are probably thinking, why do you say you're not a paedophile? Because nowadays, like, society is really, like, really weird, like, really crazy. Because nowadays, for a young man to like kids is, it can be really it can be really misunderstood and misinterpreted. Um, um, there was a guy on 8 out of 10 Cats the other day on TV on Channel 4, I believe it was, and he was talking about, it's like, why are men not allowed to like kids? It's like women are allowed to be broody, as they call it, and see kids and like, oh, because it's like that maternal instinct. But if a man is like that, um, it's almost seen as weird. Now, some of you are probably saying, no, I think it's normal. Yeah, you think it's normal, but a lot of people don't think it's normal. How can my house phone be ringing in the middle of my Mom? Talk about killing the vibe. Sorry about that. Um, so on the program the other day, um, I forgot what it was now. Yeah, on the program the other day, um, she picked up the phone. Okay, she got the other one upstairs. On the program, he was basically saying, for example, you just want to see kids enjoy seeing them play around. They're having fun. You just want to, see them have fun. So he was saying that he was watching a program. I mean, no, sorry, he was at the park, and you're at the park, you're looking at the kids playing on the swings, and then someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, which one's yours?" And obviously, he just kind of has to say, "Oh, fine, I'm going," and walk off. Because if he says none of them are his, the parents are going to panic. They're going to call the police. They're going to, and it's not like he specially set out to go to the park. But if you're just walking by a park, you just see kids playing, you want to sit down and just, and I know how it feels. Sometimes I'll be on the train and I'm sitting down, and, there's a woman with a baby in front of me, and the baby, is just smiling, the baby just, kind of giggling and reaching out at you. And you want to react, you want to just pull a face, or you want to, but if you look for too long or stare at the baby, people around you are thinking, what's wrong with him? They're looking at you funny. And it's even I'm guilty of it. There's a lot of films that I've seen, and I remember there's films that I've seen when I was younger, and I thought nothing of it. I can't remember what the name of this film is, but this guy was a superhero, and it was like he retired, and he was upset, and he had to train these younger superheroes, and one of them was a little girl, and she was super strong. One night she was scared of the dark, or scared to sleep by herself, so she dragged the bed all the way to where because she's super strong in it. She dragged the bed to all the way where he was sleeping, and he's like one of them old grumpy men, but he has a good heart deep down, one of those kind of heroes. And she lay beside him, and all of a sudden I was like, he can't sleep with her. She's a little girl. He can't sleep in the same. That's wrong. And I'm like, back in the day when I saw this film, I would never have thought that there was anything wrong with a grown man sleeping beside a little girl. Nowadays, as soon as I see, a little child and a grown man in a film, I panic. Like, I hope he's not going to do something crazy because of what we see in society today. I remember Chronicles of Narnia when the little girl was seen, or when she was met out by the guy with like half human and half something. He had some animal's legs, and I was like thinking, I hope this guy doesn't, because the way he was behaving was really, really weird. And then that day that that time when he woke up and said, "I've done something wrong" in the film, he was like, going on weird, and I was like, oh, what's happened here? But I'm like, no, come on, child, it's a kids film. They're not gonna put that in a kids film. But it's like society's made me, society's, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I know it's not just me because that guy was talking about the same thing on the TV. And that's when I realized it's not just me. Um, but it's like, you know, when I'm around kids and kids get really excited around me, and it's like, don't get excited around me, don't get me in trouble. I don't want people to think that, I've been sliding sweets to you, on a sly or something, or they think I've been, trying to, I don't know. I just, I don't want any trouble. I don't want anyone to look at me funny and think, oh, blah blah blah. And I have no intention or have never tried to do that to somebody's child. Um, but it's interesting. But the reason why it got me thinking about it is because parenthood is a thing that no one's really taught it, and none of our parents got it right. I mean, I'm sure there's things that you can think about your parents did that you would have done differently, or some things that have affected you in certain ways. So I realized that us as, I'm going to be a parent, not soon, but I'm going to be a parent one day. Um, um, and it made me think that, hold on a minute, um, I'm gonna get it wrong somehow. It's like there is no way to perfectly raise a child. Some people might say, well, Dave, you might disagree with me. Fair enough, by all means, but just hear me out. For example, um, things happen to kids that really affect them in the long run. For example, sexual abuse, child abuse. Now, if you decide, you know what, um, I don't want my child to be abused, so I'm going to keep my child away from everybody who's not me, and you start keeping your child to yourself, or just you and your spouse, and let's just hope that your spouse is normal enough not to do anything to your child, and you just keep um, your kids to yourself basically. Um, Although you may keep them away from other people having that opportunity to corrupt them in that way, you unless you're going to be there 24/7, they're going to be alone, and when they're alone, they might step into um, or bump into things that they shouldn't bump into alone because they have no friends or they have no one to speak to. That loneliness, that rift between them and people and them and society could create an even worse problem than the molestation could create. Um, and if you decided, I don't, they might become isolated. They might not know how to interact with people. They might have issues with interacting with human beings in general. And because I've met people who are like that. They don't know how to speak to people. They're not expressive because they've never had anyone to talk to. So they don't know how to talk to anybody. So they're very, very closed, and in being very, very closed, they can't release the necessary information they need to release for necessary things. They don't know how to air out grievances. They don't know how to talk about people about problems. They don't know how to, so they can't show appreciation to people who do stuff for them positive because they basically they don't know how to express themselves. Or you can let your child go out and be really, really free and spend a lot of time with people and just try and watch over them, and then for example, risk them being sexually abused. Now, it's not a light subject, so I'm not talking about this like it's a light subject. It's quite a serious subject. Raising kids and sexual abuse, and I learned that um, to be honest with you, the biggest from what I know and what I speak to a lot of people about stuff like this, a lot of people, and it seems that the biggest um, sexual abusers are usually kids themselves. Now, it might be a shock to some people, but it's almost like obviously a lot of the time adults kick it off. One adult in one way or the other would expose a child to information sexually that they didn't need, they weren't ready to be exposed to. But from a lot of people, even from my own personal experience and a lot of other people that I know, um, a lot of stuff happens with young kids and young kids. Their mummy and dad. There's sometimes you always have that person in primary school who always like to play mummy and daddies, and that person would always take it a bit too far with a particular girl, or maybe that young girl would take it a bit too far with a particular boy, and they were showing kids stuff that they shouldn't necessarily be showing kids, and it happened in schools, it happened when people visited people's homes. Like I remember a very vivid experience when I was really, really young, um, of and it's really emotional to even speak about it because when I think about it, I've just realized, wow, a young guy and his sister, his younger sister, and they were really doing things they shouldn't have been doing, and this was really, really young age, and obviously affected me because to me it wasn't a big deal, and you know, around me, so much was going on, and the thing is, this wasn't happening in my own house; it was happening in other people's houses that I was visiting. It was happening in, let's go and see so and so and so. One meal go and see auntie so and so and so, and we'll go and see auntie so and so and so, and auntie so and so's kids. Things are happening. Things are happening with myself and auntie so and so's kids, or uncle so and so's kids. Because when we were young, it's like obviously it's wrong because you wouldn't tell your parents you were doing it, but you don't realize how wrong it is and how much of an effect it has on people, and other people. And it was just like it's making me put into more. It's like I'm asking God for more and more wisdom on how to raise kids because it's you know, me and my friend were discussing. She was saying, no, she'd make them move to, Canada. Maybe, but then it's like Canada has its own issues. She said she didn't want to live in London because London is too rough, and she don't want her kids to get in drugs and gun crime. So she said she moved to Canada. But it's like Canada will have its own issues. Canada's not crime free. Canada's not danger free. She said, okay, what about China? Well, China's not danger free either. You know, um, China would have its own sort of issues. I don't, and it's like no matter where you go, no matter where you raise your kids, no kids are gonna come up perfect. Every kid's gonna have their own fight. They're gonna have their own struggle. It's part of the path of life. We all have it. You know. Um, so it's like it's almost like, so what's the solution? And I'm just something I'm putting to prayer. Like, Lord, you know, as a parent, I'm gonna want to protect my kids from all kind of danger. You know, how do I go into parenthood knowing that one way or the other my child is going to go through things that I wouldn't want them to go through? How would I handle that? How should I, how should I? And it's just something that I'm just putting. I'm not really doing this video to sort of give you any information, but just to challenge your minds and challenge your thoughts, and to encourage you to pray about your own kids. If you have kids, if you don't have kids, pray about your own kids. Obviously, watch over your kids. Don't take all things for. Don't take everything for granted. Um, because I realize that everything we do has an effect on people. And if we don't take care and pay attention, you know, things could go wrong. But we shouldn't say because we know things are going to go wrong anyway. You might as well. Because obviously that's just the wrong attitude to have. So and I love kids. I mean, I find them fascinating. Just watching them, and you're thinking, where are you going? You see little kids walk up to places, and little kids pick stuff up and look at them. And you're thinking, you just want to know what's in their brain. Like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? But yeah, man, society scared me, so I just kind of just stay back. I don't really interact with kids, I don't. Just imagine that, I'm just, there's a there's a little light skinned boy, playing on the floor somewhere, and he sees me and he smiles, and I'm like, oh, look at this young man, oh yeah, yeah. And I'm just joking around with him, and someone just walks past and thinks, okay, what is he doing with? That's not his child. What is he? Start calling the police on me. I don't need that headache. But if you've never thought about parenthood before, literally look at your parents, look at your own parents, learn lessons from them. What did they do that you believe um, has made you a better person and a stronger person? And also think about what did they do that this might not necessarily work. But we have to be careful not to go too extreme, because it's like one generation would be overly strict, so the next generation will say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give my kids freedom. And then that generation will be overly free. Then the other generation will be like, nah, man, my mom gave me freedom, so I'm going to be strict to my kids. So the next generation, it's like, what's with? I know people that do that. I've seen people do that a lot. Like when I see that, I'll meet their grandma, then I'll meet their mom, then I'll meet them. And it's like their grandma was really strict, so their mom was really free. So they're saying they're going to be really strict. It's almost like let's be balanced. Let's try and look. Let's look into the word. Let's look at how God treats us as His children, and try and emulate that. Overall things. How does God treat us? How does God treat us as a father, and try and be that father. Um, because I believe, thinking about it now, I believe what makes a perfect parent isn't what their kids go through, but is giving their kids the tools and the wisdom to be able to survive whatever they go through. That's what it is. Sorry, I just got it right now. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not necessarily, okay, can I avoid my kids going through anything? Because that's impossible. But it's more, can I teach my kids, can I raise my kids in such a way that they can handle whatever they go through? Because obviously that's what will make them, victorious. That's what will make them successful. That's what will make them, reach their potential. The fact that they were strong enough to handle what they went through. Okay, that's cool. Um, yeah,